Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Financial Issues. Seth Udinski, Sam Case, the FISM team here with you this morning, Thursday, October the 2nd. We've officially kicked off quarter number 4 of the fiscal year. We've actually kicked off the next fiscal year for the U.S. government, but the normal calendar year, quarter 4, began yesterday. We're into the second day of it today.
How'd that even happen? How did we get to this point?
It's unbelievable, man. I've been counting it down. I've been bothering my wife with this because every 25th of the month I'll be like, hey, certain number of months until Christmas. Now we're going to be 2 months till Christmas. It's crazy. My how time flies. But
are you playing Christmas music already? Don't answer that. It'll make me mad. Don't answer that.
Will I be condemned and judged if I say yes?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe?
Oh, yeah.
I'll just leave that as a maybe. Good to be here with you all this morning. We're excited. Hey, I saw a great chat comment right away. We'll get to this here. John from Alabama asking the question, are we willing to go to jail for our faith? I am. John, that's awesome. You know, I heard a really good quote. I think it was yesterday. Somebody was quoting James O'Keefe, and O'Keefe basically said, if the price for speaking the truth is anything but your life, anything short of your life, you can be bought. You can be bought. Even if it's 10 million, 100 million, we need to be ready to give our very lives for the truth, folks. And it's so important to see that as we consider still the horrors of what we saw several weeks ago with Charlie Kirk's assassination. And we're seeing a revival sweeping across this country. We have to think long and hard about these things. We have to think about what price am I willing to pay to stand firm on the truth. And my hope and prayer for every Christian listening today is that it is with your very life. Not all of us will be called to give our lives for the truth, but we have to be ready to lay down our lives for Christ.
And pray that you will be ready, because Peter thought he was ready to do it, and he absolutely wasn't.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's not good enough just to think that you're the kind of person that would stand for the truth. So I always say, I hope that I'm the kind of guy that would be willing to suffer, go to jail, die for my faith. But I don't know. I pray about it, though.
You know, Sam, one thing that's encouraged me, and this is from our Daniel series, actually, folks. Hope you'll join us tomorrow. And not to start the show off on a little bit of a tangent here, but I think it's important to say this. God does not prepare us for the things we may or may not go through. He prepares us for the things that we will go through.
Yeah, so well said.
He gives you the grace for whatever you're facing. You know, maybe right now you're facing a tough situation with a friend or a family member, and you disagree, and you're facing being ostracized or being kind of looked down upon. Maybe you are facing threats to your life. God will give you the grace to make it through that. He will give you the grace to make it through what he brings you through. You don't need to worry about the things that you may or may not go through, but you need to understand that God will be there for you to give you what you need to get through what he brings you through. It's a good reminder there. Anyway, busy show today, folks. Excited to be here with you. Frank Gaffney is going to join me in about 10 minutes now or so to discuss just kind of the state of affairs in our nation. I'm excited to hear Frank's wisdom on this. He's been around quite a bit longer than I have. He's served in pretty public forums, and so he understands the price that one pays for speaking the truth. Everything we've seen since September 10th, I'm excited to hear from his wisdom. We'll also talk investment platforms. We got a question yesterday. Actually, it was 2 days ago. It was after the show ended on the chat. I so appreciate Uncle John from Indiana sent me this chat comment as I was off the chat, but he was still on it. And so we'll see some wisdom about which one to pick and from some of the questions that one of you guys had. So great to be here with you all today. Hope you'll say hello. Also, Trump's movie tariff. We didn't get to this yesterday. We're going to try to get it today. Interesting stuff there, but nonetheless, that's what's going on today. We do have a petition out for NVIDIA right now, folks. Speaking of a way that you can speak the truth, you can sign this petition right now. We're going to get as many signatures as we can to let NVIDIA know that we are displeased with what they've done and we will not stand for it. We will not partake in any kind of promotion of the transgender movement, the LGBTQ lie. We don't want any part of that. So sign that petition today. You can do so financialissues.org. There's a green scrolling banner at the top. It says sign our NVIDIA petition. You can click on that. Takes you right there. It'll take you about 15 seconds. Go ahead and sign it and join the more than 400 people who have signed it as of this morning. All right, the markets opened in kind of a bummer mood yesterday as their friendly government overlords just couldn't get any work done because it was shut down. So that's kind of how that was going. By midday, though, the Dow Jones broke positive. The other two were still down. But then by late afternoon, The markets had some spine in their resolve after all. They reversed course. They turned strong. It appeared, the sentiment on Wall Street, at least yesterday, was that there's some confidence in our theory, actually, that the government shutdown will really just be a nap, which it tends to always be. Could be a long nap, could be a short nap, but that's kind of a better terminology for it than the term shutdown. So
everyone needs a nap from time to time, even the government.
That's exactly right. So by Wednesday's closing bell, the Dow Jones finished up about 0.1%. The S&P 500 was up about 1/3. The NASDAQ up almost 0.5%. And the Russell 2000 finished in the positive as well, up about 0.25%. Pre-markets this morning are mostly positive. The Dow is about flatline, a little below it, but the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ both looking to start strong. The NASDAQ creeping up towards 1%. So the government remains to be shut down. There's a lot of back and forth going on between the Republicans and the Democrats. A lot of things that are being said from Scott Bessent, from the Trump administration, different things like that. CNBC is in a tizzy with some of this stuff, but I'm not too concerned about it overall. I think this is just kind of the way it's going to go. Sam, we did get the Jolts numbers out. I don't want to forget these in the midst of what's going on with the government shutdown. What can you tell us about Jolts? I think these came out, I want to say Tuesday?
They did, yes. Yep. This is September's job data, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, saying that job openings totaled 7.2 million. That's up 19,000 from July, though it is down 420,000 from a year ago. We were also supposed to, Seth, get the BLS non-farm payroll data this week, but of course that's probably not going to happen because of the ongoing government shutdown. However, we did get ADP payroll data, which showed private companies lost 32,000 jobs in September, as economists had expected actually a gain of 50,000 jobs. So that's a miss of about 80,000. This, of course, comes as the Fed considers yet another rate cut later this month. And Fed watchers are almost certain the Fed will cut those rates yet again in light of that weakening job data.
Good deal, Sam. Yeah, once again, these jobs numbers continue to be off. I feel like ever since that huge miss that we had, I believe it was actually about a year ago at this time, I just have not been able to trust these Jolts numbers. It just seems pretty interesting there. So,
well, it doesn't help that the whole last year of 2024 was a miss by about 1 million jobs.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
You know, what's 1 million jobs between friends, Seth?
No big deal, right?
A rounding error.
Interesting stuff. Sam, thanks for bringing that up. Hey, let's get to this tariff on foreign-made movies. I find this rather fascinating. Trump announced a 100% tariff on foreign-made movies. This was earlier this week. What's going on here?
Yeah, Sam? I guess Trump just doesn't like French films,
yeah,
right?
I guess not.
Yeah, most people don't like French films, right?
Right.
Yeah, well, Trump said on Monday that he will be imposing a 100% tariff on any and all movies that are made outside the United States, making a similar threat back in May. Nothing really came of that, so we'll have to see if this is actually going to be a real thing or if it's more saber rattling against the movie industry and, again, upping his tariff threats on other countries. He also announced he will be imposing substantial tariffs on any country that does not make its furniture in the United States as well, which is an interesting tack on to the whole movie thing.
Yeah, certainly. It doesn't seem to be things that correlate too well. I guess you sit on furniture to watch movies.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess that may be what it is. Here's the deal. I think this is, with all due respect to the Trump administration, I think this is a waste of time. I don't see any kind of national security threat with foreign movies. I actually think the movie industry as a whole is a waste of time. I think putting a tariff on a certain aspect of the movie industry is a waste of time.
How does that even work, since it's not really a solid product? It's more of a service. So would the tariff go on to the movie theaters? Would it be Netflix? Question. I'm not really sure how this would work. And what even counts as a foreign movie? Would a foreign movie be, like, let's say you're an American movie company, but you want to make a movie in Japan. Does that mean that it's being tariffed? Does that mean you can only film in the United States? There's so many questions about this. And it also raises the question, which I think does need some answering from the Supreme Court, is what is the presidential power when it comes to tariff? Obviously, he has some authority, but at the same time, he can't just wave his magic wand and declare anything and everything a national security. Because like you said, I think we can both agree that movies not being made as much in the United States as they used to be is certainly not a national security issue.
That's exactly right, Sam. And that question of presidential power as it pertains to different aspects of the economy, different things like that, that continues to be a question because we saw news this yesterday, that it looks like Fed Governor Lisa Cook will remain for now in her position on the Fed board until the Supreme Court hears oral arguments in January about whether Donald Trump is actually allowed to fire her. Interesting stuff as well there, Sam. I think I see this as a win for Cook. Just a stay of execution. I think she's allowed to keep her job. She's allowed to keep working, keep voting, at least through the end of this year. I also can't help but think that Trump had momentum on this, on his side when this first got brought to the Supreme Court, and so there's going to be a slow of momentum there too as well that could hurt Team Trump. I think Trump is in the right with this. You have to hope that the court sides correctly on this one. Here's my take quickly. I think this lady was a DEI hire by the Biden administration. And if she can't properly sign a mortgage document without fraud concerns, even if it's just a clerical error, why in the world is she in leadership over the most important monetary creating organization in our nation? The monetary policy is run by the Federal Reserve. This woman should not be on the board if she can't do that. Not my decision to make. Interesting stuff nonetheless. So we'll keep an update on that for you folks, but it looks like we won't get an official ruling on that until the beginning of 2026. Frank Gaffney up next on Financial Issues. More to come after this.
Navigating through investment options can be challenging, especially when you're determined to uphold your God-given values. Every dollar you invest is a vote for the world that you want to live in. Let your values guide your investment decisions and help to shape the culture in which we live. Become a beacon of light and pave the way with biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, where faith and finance collide. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
In a world where financial decisions can feel overwhelming, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: our family, our faith, and our future. With financial issues by our side, we can invest knowing that our financial decisions are in line with our values. Take the first step today and become a financial issues partner to access rich online resources, training tools, and guidance for biblically responsible investing. Head over to financialissues.org and learn how to invest your money in a way that honors God. That's financialissues.org.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. On top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn.
Then they sat me down. If you were to die today, do you think you would go to heaven? And I was like, no. Keeping the child was my first stepping stone. And ever since then, God has cleaned me up from the inside out.
Help support women in need. Go to preborn.com/FISM.
Welcome back, folks. We're working to get Frank on here, so we'll have him on shortly. In the meantime, though, take a look once more at the markets, pre-markets before they open. Feeling pretty good overall, I think, considering the fact that there is a looming government, not a looming now, it is an official government shutdown. I take that as a pretty good sign because I always like to see the markets operating apart from what's happening in Washington, D.C. I think when you conflate those two things, it can get extremely dangerous when the markets are just so hinged upon whatever's happening in D.C. So if we can see them operating apart from that, I think it's a good thing. We don't see that often, unfortunately, especially in this day and age. But that's kind of the way that goes there. So that's what we are looking like here. Got some things in the chat that we can get to here. Where's this question? Here it is. Claude asking a good question. Why should lawmakers get a salary if the military doesn't? Sam, you want to address this one? I was wondering the same thing. I feel like if during a shutdown, our military should definitely still get paid because they're our military. But why is that not the case?
Well, it's because of this pesky thing called the Constitution, which does require that Congress gets paid pretty much no matter what. So that's really the reason. And it's as simple as that, although it does create for some really silly situations like the one we're in right now.
It is annoying, unfortunately. That's kind of the way it goes. But yeah, I can't help but wonder too. I mean, Sam, you're right. The Constitution says that, but it does just kind of make sense when you think about it also. These government overlords, they always have a plan for making sure that they're taken care of in situations like this. It's unfortunate that that's the way it is. But again, I go back to what we've talked about often on the show recently. We need people in power who have the right understanding that their power needs to be limited, that they are fallible, flawed, sinful human beings, and that if they have too much power, it's not going to go well for anybody, including them, because they're part of this country too, aren't they? So interesting stuff nonetheless. Claude, it's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. I think you're asking the right question there for sure. Great to see all of you in the chat. We've got Lisa. Good to see you there, Lisa. John, it's great to see you, brother. George as well. George, it's true. A lot of people will quote the Constitution only when it's convenient, especially on the left. They tend to do that a lot. Otherwise, always looking for a way to get around it.
Yeah, everyone loves the Constitution until it's inconvenient to them.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to things like free speech.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. It really is true. Brian, another great question here. I know you're asking this tongue-in-cheek, but I love it nonetheless. Since the government is shut down, does that mean I get to keep my federal income tax on my paycheck? Brian, I wish that were true, man. Wouldn't that be great? I would be in favor of a world where you get to keep your federal income tax all the time, because I do believe that not all taxes, but certain types of taxes are legalized thievery, and income tax is one of them. I see no reason for it. I think it's silly, and I think it's one of those things where, if you're working harder and then you get taxed more, something about that just doesn't seem right to me. But I think you're exactly right there, brother. Well said. Okay, folks, so it looks like we are still not able to get Frank on. We're going to keep trying to get Frank here, but until we do that, Sam, why don't we jump over to that question that we have teed up here from, I believe it was after the show on Tuesday. We got a couple questions in the chat. Why don't we address these now, Sam, while we can? This was from Lennis in the chat.
Yeah, the one about Robinhood? Yep. So Lennis says that he was a partner back in 2020 and started investing at the time. He says he joined Robinhood, and that's where he's been until now. But he's not really done anything with it for 3 or more years. His question is, should I continue with Robinhood, or should I get away with it, get away from it, and wants to know if Fidelity is a good option instead.
Well, Lennis, it's a good question. I appreciate that question, and it's great to have you. I've not seen you on the chat before. You had mentioned you were a partner back in 2020. You started investing. I don't know if you stopped being a partner and then are thinking of becoming one again, or you just joined the chat for the first time. But either way, welcome. It's great to have you. Let me give you my Robinhood spiel. I'll try to keep it quick here. A couple reasons why I would maybe avoid this particular platform, and this is just me speaking, and I can speak freely about it. It's pretty controversial. It's a controversial platform. So about 4 years ago, Dan Celia, our founder, had some pretty harsh words for Robinhood. He had some hard things to say about them. He even warned listeners to move away from using them as a trading platform, not for BRI reasons. And we have to be very careful with that, folks, is that the platform that you choose, it's not an issue of being BRI or not, as much as it is a question of, is it a good platform or not? There was an SEC filing, some legal reasons that were happening here that just made this pretty controversial. I'll tell you this, Lennis, because we actually have Frank on now, so I'm going to pause your question here, but I'm going to give you a clip that you can look at here. There's a clip on YouTube called "It's Time to Get Out of Robinhood." I'll put that clip in the chat during the break, because we're going to talk to Frank now, and then I'll pick up your question when we get back after this break here. But check out that clip. It's called "It's Time to Get Out of Robinhood." It's on YouTube. You can search for it. Dan gives some great insight for that. We'll pause that question right there, folks, because we've got Frank Gaffney on with us. Frank, good morning, brother. It's great to have you on with me. Thanks so much for joining.
Well, I apologize for doing so on a tardy basis, but I'm delighted to be with you, Seth, always.
It is absolutely our pleasure, brother, and no problem at all. I know you're very busy. Frank, folks, is the president of the Institute for the American Future. He's an American patriot. He served as President Ronald Reagan's Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Policy. Frank is an expert in this field. And, you know, Frank, the topic for today is a bit more broad than usual, and I think far more spiritual in nature, but I'd love to get your thoughts and insight on this as someone who's been in this world for for a long time of being a public figure and speaking the truth. And I just want to get your opinion on the state of our nation in light of the events we've witnessed in the last several weeks. We saw before millions of viewers and in public the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk, a young man in the prime of his life, preaching the gospel, standing for American values, seemingly, and this is according to all the evidence, by a pro-transgender shooter, and directly because of his Christian faith in the biblical ethic of sexuality. I want to ask you this question, Frank. What do you make of that, just to kind of start off?
Well, I'm so glad you've asked the question, and I think in the right context. This is spiritual warfare. The man was martyred, I think it's more accurate, for his faith and for the extraordinary ability that he had to, advocate for it and bring people to it. And the other piece of it, which has gotten very little attention in all of the, postmortems, I guess one might call it, after his murder, is that one of the things that he was very, very clear about and articulate and passionate and tenacious in putting forward to his audiences was the threat to our Judeo-Christian civilization represented by Islam, and specifically its doctrine of Sharia, which is all about jihad to conquer the world, to impose that faith and the practice of this toxic political ideology, Sharia, on the entire planet. And I think those sort of spiritual warfare elements really came to the fore as he was, on the one hand, describing what our Lord Jesus Christ has taught us about faith and God and freedom, for that matter, on the one hand, and what people who are, I fear, really demonically seeking to destroy all of that are doing to that end.
Frank, I'm so glad that you made the connection there, because that's so important, folks. We don't tend to think about it, that the agenda of radical Islam and the agenda of the radical transgender leftist movement, their commonality, their common thread is a hatred for Christ, a hatred for his people, a hatred for what is good, true, and beautiful. And it is, like you said, it is jihad. They see this as a holy war. They see this as something that they're doing that is righteous.
Yes.
So many people on the left celebrated this. They said Charlie Kirk is a Nazi. They said he deserved to die. They said this is a good thing. You're absolutely right, brother. This is spiritual. And it's especially concerning when we realize that the modern left has really taken the state of political discourse in this country to be, we can no longer have disagreements. If you make a point that I can't make a comeback to because your argument has been put forth so well, I'm not going to talk to you about it. I'm either going to shut it down or I'm going to shoot you. That's what they have decided to do. What does this say, Frank, about the political discourse in our country? Charlie was murdered just for speaking the truth. What does this say?
Well, just to pick up on something you touched on there, and I think it's important in terms of answering the question. It is the left, I would even call it the communists, that are now making common cause. And, the transgender thing is a mixed bag of, ideologies and I think clearly mental health problems. But what they are doing in common cause with these jihadis is to try to get rid of the impediment that the United States represents to the realization of their respective ambitions. They all want to rule the world. I mean, the globalists, the jihadis, the Chinese communists, they've got a different end state in mind, but they are joined at the hip at the moment by a common purpose, which is getting rid of the impediment to any of those ambitions, which is us. So what does this mean for public discourse? What does this mean for the truth being told? It's a hostile environment, Seth, as you know, and I so appreciate what you do with this platform to try to nonetheless amplify this kind of truth. we will not survive if we are not clear about the nature of the enemy we confront, the enemy within, as Donald Trump put it at Quantico the other day, and their friends from outside this country. Make no mistake about it. The jihadis are getting help from the Qataris. And we hear a lot about how the Qataris are our friends. They're trying to take us down. The Chinese Communist Party are not just a trade threat. They are seeking our destruction. And the globalists, of which both are part, you have people who are conjuring up this idea that we're going to have global government by unaccountable elites. Well, it's absolutely contrary to our Constitution and, frankly, to our country. So they're all making common cause. And I call it the totalitarian trifecta. We have to be clear-eyed about it, and we have to be resisting it as well courageously as we can. It starts with understanding the nature of the problem.
It's well said, brother. Frank, I appreciate you so much, your wisdom as someone who, and I'll send those very kind words back to you to say thank you for using your platform as well. I know you're in the thick of the fight, brother. And just know we're standing with you. It's an honor to stand shoulder to shoulder with you, brother. And let me just say this, Frank. I'll just ask you this really quickly as we come to the end here. How can our listeners learn more about what you do and the platform that you have?
Well, we have a program called Securing America on Real America's Voice. You can follow that at securingamerica.substack.com. Also, the usfuture.org is the website of the Institute for the American Future.
Thank you, brother. Frank Gaffney, appreciate you so much, brother. Thank you for standing in the fight with us. We'll keep on marching forward. Folks, again, that's Frank Gaffney, and we've got more financial issues coming up on the other side of this break. If you have to leave us, hope you have a great day. The rest of you, more to come after this. Stick with us.
Where's Mima? We found out Shepard's diagnosis when I was about 17 weeks pregnant. We learned that he was going to need a series of surgeries after he was born in order to give him what they considered a normal life. And we weren't sure how this worked.
Yeah, very emotional, very, very broken. And as my wife just said, not sure how this worked. And called Samaritan, and they said, you just go have that baby. You leave the rest to us.
And just to hear the confidence on the other end of the phone of this is not something that you need to be concerned about at all. You focus on the health of your family, the health of your baby, and we will walk with you every step of the way.
I started investing close to 30 years ago now. All that time, I had never heard anyone talk about setting up your portfolio in a way that glorifies God. When I first heard about it, I was listening to the radio, a show called Financial Issues. They were teaching people how to honor God with their money. That made a lot of sense to me. I guard my heart, my mind. I watch my mouth, hoping to bring glory to God in everything I do and say. Well, why wouldn't I want to do the same with my money? I decided I wanted my portfolio to glorify God. I became a partner with Financial Issues, and it's been one of the best decisions I've made. I want to leave a legacy of godliness for those who are following in my footsteps. Invest your money in a God-honoring way. Go to financialissues.org.
Preborn is making motherhood possible for thousands of moms across America.
I found out that I was pregnant, and my family, they were like, no, you're not having this baby. I met Miss Linda. She told me about all the great resources, like they offer free baby clothes, they offer free classes, stuff for her mom. She prayed with me. She told me to ask God to, guide me to my decision. She made it completely like my choice. She offered to get me an ultrasound, and I found out I was 6 weeks pregnant. That's where I very first heard the heartbeat of my son, and I was sold. Whatever I gotta do, whatever comes my way, I'm just gonna, have this baby. It was really a great thing that I was led to the choice to keep on.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Mr. Frank Gaffney. He truly is a dear friend and a patriot and a fellow soldier in this fight for the truth. And I'm so grateful to have men like him. Frank's got a very large platform, and boy, he's been in the thick of it. I'm sure he's received no small amount of hatred from the other side for speaking the truth. That's for darn sure. So I had more questions to get to with him. Of course, we ran out of time. So next time we have him on, we'll talk more about that. Especially what we saw earlier this week, Sam. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is making the U.S. strong again. Love to see that. I love to see those physical requirements for military men. It's good. It's good to have a strong army. It's good to not have DEI in your military. I think that's excellent. So
the army is not a social club.
It's not.
Its job is to kill the bad people.
It's not. And its purpose is not also to make people in it feel good about themselves. Its job is to train you to defend your country. That's what it's there for. So good to see that from Secretary Hegseth. All right, Sam, let's get back to Lennis's question here in the chat. So, Lennis, I apologize. We had to pause there for you. But we were talking about Robinhood. You had said joined Robinhood. That's where I am now. I haven't done anything with it 3 or more years. And should I continue with Robinhood or should I get away from it? And is Fidelity easier to manage? So I said there were a couple reasons why I believe this particular platform might be a little too controversial for comfort. The first reason was this SEC filing that took place some 4 years ago. Our founder, Dan Celia, talked about it, and he actually called on our partners to not use Robinhood as a platform anymore. I shared with you that YouTube clip, and I do apologize that I forgot to put it into the chat. So I'm going to put it in the chat right now for you, so you should see it in there. It's a clip from me, so Seth Exton, PA, and you see that link there. That should be the link for that clip. Once again, it's called "It's Time to Get Out of Robinhood." That was Dan Celia from about 2021. It's also worth noting another reason that much of the trading that took place, and it was a lot of day trading, that took place in the GameStop stock run-up of 2021 happened on the Robinhood platform. So that's neither good nor bad necessarily, but it's worth noting, at least, that happened there. Ironically, there actually was a change that happened where Robinhood eventually didn't allow traders to buy GameStop for a time, so they kind of interfered a little bit in free trading. All that stuff.
Yeah, my problem with it was not that the run-up happened on Robinhood. My problem was that Robinhood tried to stop the run-up.
Tried to stop it, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that just doesn't seem right to me. You know, let the chips fall where they may, let the
and some of that had to do with liquidity issues, which wasn't necessarily their own decision. It wasn't necessarily like behind the scenes they wanted to stop that. But still, that's a problem in and of itself that you're having liquidity issues on your platform.
Big time, big time. So that's just another issue. And then if that wasn't enough, Sam reported for us about a month and a half ago, if you remember this, Sam, that Robinhood, which keep in mind is a self-proclaimed investment platform, started offering and promoting sports betting and kind of just conflated it as, well, yeah, this is just another thing you can do with your money, another investment tool.
They call it sports trading.
Yeah, sports trading.
Sports trading,
folks,
Seth.
Sports betting is not investing. They're completely different things. And the fact that this platform is conflating them, calling it sports trading, like Sam said, promoting it, that's not a good sign. That's just not a good sign. You start to realize this platform seems to tend towards day trading, gambling tendencies, sports betting, rather than good, solid, long-term investing. Now, I'm not saying you can't use Robinhood and still be a good, solid, long-term investor. But what I'm saying is where there's smoke, there's fire. There's warning signs here. I think, Lennis, the lesson for you is use wisdom about which trading platform you use. Remember, it's not a BRI issue. I said that in the last segment. It's not a biblically responsible issue. If you choose to use a Robinhood or a Vanguard or a Charles Schwab, you can use it well within the bounds of being BRI because you're not investing in the trading platform itself. Most of those trading platforms as companies would not qualify as being biblically responsible. They would fail the screens, but you're not investing in the company itself. You're using the good or service that the company offers. We don't recommend one particular platform over the other. I said that was my Elmer Fudd. We don't recommend one particular platform. No, we don't recommend one over the other, but we do seek to uncover any warning signs that we might see in one or the other. And so, Lennis, for that reason, if it were me, or if I was talking to one of my children, for example, if they were thinking, hey, Dad, what trading platform should I use? I would tell them pick a different one. And it seems like you're kind of already wondering that anyway, but that decision's up to you, completely up to you. I think it leads well into your second question, which is Fidelity easy to manage? And I'll say this again, we don't promote one platform over the other. We have a lot of partners who use Fidelity. Some of them use Schwab. Some of them use some of the other stuff. In particular, I know Fidelity. I use it for my investment. I follow the FISM strategy and I use Fidelity. And from experience, I can tell you it is quite easy to use. And it certainly works well, whether on the mobile phone or on the computer. But once again, a lot of the trading platforms out there have easy-to-use functions because a lot of them are popular, and so they have to keep up with the times. They're also competing with each other. So they're businesses as well. They got to run their business, and they do better the more people who use them. So a lot of them have easy-to-use functions. The decision of which to use is really up to you. Any of you in the chat, if you have anything to share about that, which platform you use and which one you prefer, feel free to share that right now, actually. I'd love to get to hear which ones you guys use.
I'll tell Lennis, I did start with Robinhood because I found it to be incredibly easy to use. That is the perk that it has. It is user-friendly. And then I, over time, switched to Fidelity, and I found it pretty much just as easy to use as Robinhood. Maybe a little bit more technical, but the learning curve was not too bad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Sam, there was one more thing about Robinhood. I remember you said this when we talked about that sports betting story back in August. What's the thing that they do where it's like if you make a trade, they it's almost like a slot machine?
Oh, yeah. It's like a casino or a video game. They'll have confetti come down. If you make a trade that makes you money, they're going to celebrate that. So they're really trying to tap into this whole casino video game vibe for the trading platform, try to get you to make decisions purely on emotion, not on what's the best trade. In fact, my understanding is when you make a trade, they'll then recommend other trades for you to buy, not necessarily because they're the best thing for you, but because they're similar in some way to what you just sold. And that's not a good way to make decisions.
That's absolutely right. That's not investing, folks. That's, first of all, that's not biblically responsible investing. But secondly, I think you can even say that's just not long-term investing in general. That's quick hitting, vibing, day trading, trying to make a quick buck, get rich quick schemes. Folks, let me tell you this. You will not find get rich quick schemes in the Bible as the biblical method for building wealth. It's actually the opposite of that. The Bible puts forth a building wealth over time strategy. This is from Proverbs 13. A man grows his wealth little by little. I take that to mean little by little means over a span of years, decades. So you're talking 20 to 30 years. That's the amount of time that you build wealth. These trading platforms, one of their biggest errors, I think, and it's included in gambling as well, is that they feed the lie that the best way to get rich is to do it quickly. And that's the way that works also. It almost never works. The way to build true sustainable wealth that you can then use for good, whether you pass it on to your heirs or whether you pass it on to your church through charitable giving, is built slowly over a lifetime, folks. So you have to be patient about it. You have to be willing to do it over a span of years. What I'm doing right now with following the FISM strategy, as I mentioned earlier, and by the way, I'm in the growth model because that's just where I am. I'm looking for those aggressive stocks that, they're going to go up and they're going to go down. And Sam and I, every day after the show, we're like, let's see our portfolios. Let's see, how they're doing. And some days they're all red. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I'm not getting out. I'm staying in it. I'm committed to stay in it for.
Maybe we shouldn't check it every day for that reason.
Maybe we shouldn't check it every day.
But it is
exactly
fun.
Right. It's just fun to do. It's exactly right. Part of it is too. We're in that world with doing the show and different things like that. But regardless, we're not getting out. I'm planning to be in these holdings unless they go non-biblically responsible for the next 30 to 40 years, hopefully. So all that to say, folks, hope that can be encouraging. Lennox, it's a great question. I appreciate you asking a lot, and I hope we're able to help you. Here comes the Ag Report with Craig Haugaard. Then we'll be back after this.
This is Craig Haugaard with your Financial Issues Ag Update for October 2nd. Well, grains opened the day lower yesterday and traded lower until President Trump weighed in. He posted a post on social media that read as follows. The soybean farmers of our country are being hurt because China is, for negotiations negotiating reasons only, not buying. We've made so much money on tariffs that we're going to take a small portion of that money and help our farmers. I will never let our farmers down. Sleepy Joe Biden didn't enforce our agreement with China, where they were going to purchase billions of dollars of our farm products, but soybeans in particular. It's all going to work out very well. I love our patriots, and every farmer is exactly that. I'll be meeting with President Xi of China in 4 weeks, and soybeans will be a major topic of discussion. Make soybeans and other row crops great again. And that statement ignited a rally, with December corn finishing the day a penny higher at $4.16 while November soybeans rose by 11.25 cents, closing at $10.13 per bushel. Wheat did really not get tugged along by that rally. It continues to struggle as a result of large world supplies. We had Minneapolis December wheat finishing the day 5.75 cents lower at $5.57. Kansas City decreased by 2.25 cents, closing at $4.95.5. Chicago was actually a penny and a quarter higher at $5.0925. Cotton futures continue to struggle. December futures ended yesterday's session by closing 18 points lower at $65.59. Livestock futures had a pretty rough session as well. We had December live cattle 27.5 cents lower at $234.50 per hundredweight. November feeder cattle were $1.75 lower at $357.60 per hundred. And December lean hog futures decreased in value as well. They were down $1.82.5, ending the day at $86.90 per hundredweight. Class 3 milk futures pressed higher for the third consecutive session. At the closing bell, October futures were up 31 points at $17.53. Well, this has been Craig Haugaard with your Financial Issues Ag Update. We'll be right back with more financial issues after this.
Are you tired of the chaos? There are a lot of things that make noise, but only a few that truly matter. As a parent, I want to leave something that will last for a long time.
Invest $300 a month increase on slowly by the time you retire.
Not just an inheritance of money, but a legacy of godly values.
Here at Financial Issues, we want to help you grow your money, but our main goal is to help you honor God with the money that He's given you.
Invest your money in a God-honoring way. Go to financialissues.org.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
And we're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. And on top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn. The donations that you give actually make a difference. Last year, 59,000 babies were saved because of what you have done with your generosity.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Appreciate you all in the chat there, folks. A lot of you sharing which trading platform you use, or should I say investing platform. Let me say a quick word about what we were talking about in the last segment, too, because I do understand, you think about it, from mine and Sam's perspective, we're at that we're kind of at that building out the portfolio stage, starting it out. So I think, Sam, it's okay for me to say this, that it probably makes more sense for guys like us, our portfolio, consistently more often because we're building it out. But you may be someone who's had a portfolio for 20 to 30 years, and it might work best for you to not check it as often. And that's okay.
Well, it all comes down to what Mark calls the sleep factor.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
by not looking at it all the time, it's going to make you feel a lot better about yourself, then that's great. If you know you're someone who can check on it once or twice a day and it's not really going to bother you, whether it's up or down, that's great. Then go for it. Have fun. But if it is going to bother you, back off.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the cool things for me to see it, Sam, is I mean, first of all, I really enjoy it. Secondly, it's our life. It's what we do on the show every day. But third of all, to see these companies that we're invested in, 100% biblically responsible, to see whether they're buy list or broad list companies, we want to root for them to do well, right? Because not only because we're invested in them, but because we know that they are biblically responsible. They're companies that just are in the business of making a good business. I root for those companies. I want those companies to do well. So that's just kind of part of it for me also is getting to see that, getting to connect it to the strategy. It's a fun thing to do for sure. But that might not be you, and that's totally okay. So, George, I appreciate you sharing. Yeah, the verse I referenced earlier, Proverbs 13:11, wealth from get-rich-quick schemes quickly disappears. Wealth from hard work grows over time. That's how it goes, man. That's exactly right. You work hard day by day. Your wealth grows, certainly through investing. Also, though, through working hard at your job, getting a paycheck, living within your means is a really important thing too, folks. I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with people, even family members, and we talk about the difference between living off of a single income versus a dual income. And it's interesting to hear the single income family perspective of how they've been able to figure it out. And the dual income people are like, how are you able to do this? And the single income people are like, we just figured out living within your means. You live on less than you make. And you might make sacrifices. It means you might not have a TV bill or an internet bill or something like that. Or you might not eat out all the time or often. But you make the sacrifices. It's a great thing to do. Great thing to do. And it's amazing to do it the Lord's way. There's such a peace that comes with being faithful and being obedient. Being faithful and being obedient, that just beats everything else. So whether you feel, honestly, it makes you feel more wealthy, whether you're actually numerically as wealthy as someone else or not. Pretty cool stuff.
Well, you probably are because you're probably not in debt, right?
Right. That's exactly right. It's as often as you can help it. Yeah. Really good stuff there, nonetheless.
What's the story about Donald Trump when he was really in debt? I don't remember what the year was, but he told his daughter, he pointed to a homeless man on the street, and he said, see that guy over there? That guy's actually wealthier than I am right now.
Right. But Trump understood it. Like, he got it. There's a lifestyle that comes with the lifestyle he lives. Being in debt, I assume at that time he probably at least had several pretty high net worth assets to his name. He maybe lived in Trump Tower at the time, but he understood that's actually the true indicator of wealth. Net worth says a whole lot more than your income does or other things like that do. And he understood it. And it makes sense. I think truly wealthy people, they don't get there just by blinking their eyes and wishing, and then all of a sudden it happens. They work hard for it. They understand it. So good stuff there. Appreciate that a lot, folks. It's awesome. Let's get to this headline here, Sam. Speaking of Donald Trump, actually, this is an interesting one. We were talking about this yesterday, Sam. He is freezing NYC infrastructure funding. Now, when I saw this headline, my first thought was, why is the federal government funding the infrastructure of New York City anyway?
That's all I could think of, Seth. So the story is they're freezing $18 billion for infrastructure projects in New York City. This is from the Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought. He said the projects have been put on hold to ensure funding is not flowing based on unconstitutional DEI principles. That funding was earmarked for the Hudson Tunnel Project, which is a tunnel between, I believe it's New York and New Jersey, as well as the 2nd Avenue subway extension. And I'm with you, Seth. Yeah, it's great. We're not having money going to DEI-related projects or projects influenced by DEI at all. Yeah. But I'd rather just not be involved with this even if it wasn't having DEI. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I mean, we were talking about it yesterday. Isn't this New York City's problem? Like, that puts it pretty crassly, but isn't this something that New York City's government should be dealing with?
It's a great question. What interests do any of us have, besides the people living in New York City, in New York's awful subway system?
That's exactly right. I understand, Sam. You know, we had referenced this partially because it happened so close to us. But, folks, if you remember, it was probably a year, maybe a year and a half ago, a portion of Interstate 95 collapsed in Philadelphia. So it was right in the Philadelphia area. It happened probably less than an hour from where we are. And there was some federal funding that went to that. I'm a little bit more okay with that because it's an interstate highway. It's one of those lifeblood highways. It goes from Maine to Florida and back. So you need that. I get that. But New York City's subway system doesn't seem to have all that much of an impact on the health of the United States in general, unless I'm mistaken. Unless their subway, they have a secret tunnel that goes all the way, across the country, and we can get down a whole conspiracy trail if you want to do that, but we're not going to do that right now.
The mole people.
That's right. Exactly. So, yeah, Sam, I totally agree. I think this is silly. I think it was silly that was even something in the beginning. I'm glad that the freeze happened for sure. But, the big question I have now is connecting this to what will probably come with incomparable Mayor Mamdani when he likely gets voted into office.
85% chance right now.
Yeah. The question I have is, will Trump be able to do this? Or will whoever's the president of the United States at that time be able to do this? I just wonder what this might look like with the Mamdani in office, just because he is so radically Marxist.
Well, Trump has said he's been willing or is willing to take steps to, I guess, thwart Mamdani in some way. So I would think part of that would be pulling any federal funding that they've previously been using.
Sure. I'd be totally okay with pulling federal funding. The language of Trump stepping in to try to block a mayoral election, that seems a little concerning to me, not because of who it is. I would love if Trump blocked Mamdani, but I don't like the precedent of the president being able to do that. I think that's where it's a little bit of a concern to me.
Yep, I can see that.
With the particular situation as it is, the chess pieces that are at play right now, I'd be like, yeah, go for it. Please keep this guy out of there. But there's a lot to think about that for sure. But anyway, that's what's going on there. So if you care about the New York City subway system, you can breathe a sigh of relief because those rat-infested subways are going to get fixed. That's what it looks like.
Maybe put the rats to work, right?
Exactly
Can we find a government project for that?
Seriously.
Put little hard hats on the rats?
That's right.
But here's the problem, though. This is how you get to a Mamdani, because New York does not have to pay for its own subway system. Yes, it does, but not in projects like this. The federal government's helping with these projects. It teaches them that they can elect someone like Zoran Mamdani who can spend money on stupid stuff because they're not having to spend money on the real important issues in the city.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's the precedent that gets set here, Sam, for sure. Well, in some other Trump news here, let's take a look at this one, Sam. Looks like Trump has struck a deal with Pfizer. An interesting story here. Tell us about this one.
Yep, with Pfizer aiming to lower drug costs for Americans, Trump saying Pfizer is now offering its prescription medicines to Medicaid at, quote, heavily discounted prices of anywhere between 50% and even 100%. This comes as Trump has been urging these companies to lower prices, saying it's not fair that Americans pay something like 400% more than other countries. So he's trying to lower those costs down by striking these deals. Those drugs will now be made available for direct purchase on a government website called Trump RX. Trump is also saying he's working with other drug makers to strike similar deals.
I like he names a website after
he has to, right?
That's great.
His whole brand is branding.
That's funny. Sam, keep me honest with this one. Let's try to remember to ask Twyla about this the next time she's on. I'm sure she'll have some good things to say about it. Once again, just like the general notion of a president stepping in to block a mayoral election, the general idea of this gives me more concern than comfort, I think. And if nothing else, just for the precedent that this sets, again, for future administrations to meddle in pharmaceutical costs and for some kind of unholy conglomeration between the federal government and big pharma.
Yeah, the joke I'm seeing is you point to the European countries saying, look at that socialism. Well, we have socialism at home.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. We've got it right here.
Trump's complaining that they're having price fixing in Europe, and that's causing our prices to go up here. So instead of yelling yelling at them to stop doing that, Trump says, oh, we can just do that too. I think it'd be better if everyone just stopped.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Sam, I think the theme of these two stories is let's deal with the problems at their root causes. New York City, you fix your subway system. Europe, you fix your healthcare system, your broken socialist healthcare system that doesn't work. And then we'll see the positive impacts of that further upstream.
We're actually paying for their broken socialist healthcare systems. We pay more drug prices so that they can pay less. That's not a good plan.
It's not a good plan. Last time I checked, ever since 1776, we haven't cared about what's going on in Europe. I know that's kind of silly to say, but yeah.
They're making us care.
That's exactly right. They are. With this particular story, I don't trust the federal government or Big Pharma. You put both of those things together, it can make for some real danger. So interesting things to think about there nonetheless, folks. But all that to say, listen, the Lord's on the throne. We're fighting the good fight of faith. I want to say again, thank you so much to all of you who gave for our campaign. We've started our fiscal year in the black. We're starting strong. It's less than 2 weeks now. Mark Manillo will be starting on Financial Issues October 13th. Mark your calendars for it, folks. It's going to be a great time. He's going to be on the show with us tomorrow, by the way. So hope you'll join us then. Until then, remember, everything you have belongs to the Lord. Let's be good and faithful stewards with all of it. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.